It's Over Opinionated.
Welcome back to Over Opinionated. It is 4th of July. Today is currently Tuesday. You'll probably be listening to this tomorrow because I got a little bit of a late start on this. But I just wanted to say happy 4th of July. It doesn't matter if you're listening to this a week from now. The 4th of July is always special, being our Independence Day. I want to read you a small section of the Declaration of Independence, wrote primarily by Thomas Jefferson. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their rights of power from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter it or abolish it and to institute a new government. And that is from Thomas Jefferson, signed off by our founding fathers on July 4th, 1776, when we declared 13 colonies to be independent of Great Britain and united in that independence. And I just think it is so important that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All men. Now, a lot of leftists will say, well, Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. A lot of the founding fathers owned slaves, and try to take away from their greatness. That's true. That's wrong that they owned slaves. But if you were a Southerner in the 1700s and you were well off, you'd probably own slaves too. It was just ingrained in their culture. What do we do now that 100 years from now our ancestors will think that is barbaric? And that's a serious question. Do we want to be judged by the worst of our sins? And they will be judged by that, by God. But when it comes to men, hindsight is 20/20. And these men, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, all came together and helped make this wonderful country that we have. Not a sinless country, not a Christian country in the sense that we are blood-bought by Christ, but we have a Christian heritage that is very important. And a lot of Christians have always lived in the United States, and that has always influenced the United States. And God has used this country to reach many other countries with the gospel. And we enjoy our religious freedom partially because of what happened on July 4th, when we declared our independence from the British Empire. So I want to read you a couple quotes from our second president, John Adams. And I'm not claiming that all our founding fathers were evangelicals or born-again Christians. That's not true. Many of them were Christians, but some of them were not. Some of them were Christian theists, quote-unquote Christians, like Thomas Jefferson. And if someone ever tells you Thomas Jefferson was an atheist, that's not true. He believed in God. but he did not believe that God was personal. He did not believe in a Christian, and the Christian type of God that I believe in. He believed that Jesus was an amazing man, but he did not believe that Jesus was God. And I like Thomas Jefferson for his political beliefs and what he did for the United States and what he did for the Commonwealth of Virginia. But I don't get my theology from the Founding Fathers. With that being said, I do like to look at what the Founding Fathers believed politically and what they said about God and government from time to time. So if anyone ever tells you that you can't be Christian and be political, that's not true. Or you can't be religious and be political, that's not true. I'm going to read you a quote from John Adams. John Adams, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly indicate to the governance of any other. Meaning that our Constitution is for a moral and religious people, and it doesn't really work for any other. That is John Adams' opinion on our Constitution. And here's another quote from John Adams. We recognize no sovereign but God, and no king but Jesus. President John Adams. No sovereign but God, and no king but Jesus. And what he's referring to that as the king or queen of Great Britain is referred to as the sovereign. And it still is to this day. The king is sovereign over Great Britain. He is declaring we have no king but God, no sovereign but God, and king but Jesus. Now, is that his opinion? Absolutely it is. But America is whatever nation it wants to be. The Founding Fathers made it so that America would be whatever the people chose it to be with their elected representatives. And if we don't like something about the Constitution, we have the power to change it. And we have changed it before. We've made it where it's against the law to drink alcohol in the United States. And then a few years later, we had passed another amendment that said we got that wrong. So we could make America a constitutional monarchy by amending the Constitution. We could make America a communist hellhole by amending the Constitution. We could make America a theocracy by amending the Constitution. But I don't want that, and no one else wants that. And I'm going to be doing in the next coming up episodes about how government works and also how Christians should act with the government and how Christians should respond in the government, because it's important. Christians should be involved. All Christians should be involved in government somehow, even if that's just being an informed voter. But I think it's our duty as Christians to do what is right in all things, including government. And government is important, and it influences all our lives. So we can't just say they're all corrupt, I'm not going to vote. When you do that, really, really bad corrupt people get in charge. When the good people get out of politics, when good people get out of politics, the only people that are left are the crooked people. And we don't want that. So, is it an uphill battle in a lot of ways? It is. Okay? But still, we must move forward with the fight. And with that being said, I want my wife to make a special appearance on Over Opinionated as she reads a prayer by our first president, George Washington, regarded as the father of the country, and he was the leader of the Continental Army in the American Revolution with no other left to do. Here is my lovely wife reading the prayer from George Washington, and this is from the Library of Congress website.
A prayer by George Washington. Almighty God, we make our earnest prayer that thou wilt keep the United States in thy holy protection, that thou wilt incline the hearts of the citizens to cultivate a spirit of subordination and obedience to the government, entertain brotherly affection and love for one another, and for the fellow citizens of the United States at large. And finally, that thou wilt most graciously be pleased to dispose us all to do justice, to love mercy, and to demean ourselves with charity, humility, and pacific temper of mind, which were the characteristics of the divine author of our blessed religion, without a humble imitation of whose example in these things we can never hope to be a happy nation. Grant our supplication, we beseech thee, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
A big thank you to my lovely wife for reading George Washington's prayer really great. I just want to have her on, and she has a lovely voice, and we got to hear it. So, but yeah, a lot of the founding fathers were definitely Christians. Some of them were deists and wouldn't be born again, but it doesn't matter if they were Christians or atheists or deists or Buddhists or Muslims. It doesn't matter. The left can claim all they want how the founding fathers hated religion. That's not completely true. Thomas Jefferson might not have been a Christian as you or I, but he definitely believed in a creator. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter. The Bible verse of the day is going to be First Peter chapter 2, verse 17, reading out of the New International Version. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honor the emperor. Now, we don't have an emperor, but we do have a constitution, and we do have a country that we should honor. And we should be active in the government. Doesn't matter who set up the government. If we lived in an Islamic country, Christians should try to be active in the government as much as the country will allow, while being a good citizen. So it doesn't matter what the founding fathers believed. It's still our job as Christians to try our best to contribute to our country however we can. If that's being a voter, if that's being in armed forces, whatever God puts on your heart. Our country might not be our first calling, but it has to be some type of calling, as the scriptures tell us to obey the government. That doesn't mean you have to agree with it. But I just wanted to say that Happy Independence Day. Be thankful you live in America. And for anybody listening outside the United States, hopefully you live in the West, and be thankful you live in Western civilization. If not, all these principles apply universally to any country you live in. Be a good citizen. With that being said, we're going to pivot to the United States Supreme Court that has issued some rulings this week that has been impactful on all sides. This is a news article from Newsweek. The Supreme Court struck down President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plans on Friday, and its conservative justices used former Speaker Nancy Pelosi's words to do so. Quoting Pelosi in 2021 press conference, the court's majority wrote an opinion. People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone it, he can delay it, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress. The justices agreed with 6 Republican-led states, while disagreed with 2 individual borrowers in a pair of lawsuits that challenged the Biden administration's student debt reform. Although the court ruled that the private plaintiffs lacked standing in their challenge against Biden's plan in the Department of Education versus Brown, The justices ruled against Biden in a 6-3 decision vote in Biden versus Nebraska, effectively shutting down the program. Biden announced his student debt loan forgiveness last year, estimating that the plan would wipe out the debt of 20 million Americans and provide some relief to the remaining 20 million. The program sought to eliminate up to $10,000 in student loan debt for borrowers making less than $120,000 and up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients. In a statement response to the Supreme Court ruling, Pelosi criticized the decision, saying it cruelly allowed for a crisis of debt to continue holding back families from starting businesses, and making ends meet. President Biden is to be condemned for his actions to ease the student loan burden, which disproportionately harms women and people of color, the California Democrat said, urging by our commitment to equal justice and opportunity, the fight is not over. And I'm going to end it right there. If you can go read the rest of the article if you would like. It's the U.S. Supreme Court uses Nancy Pelosi's words to overturn student loan forgiveness cancellation. And what Roberts is saying, Chief Justice Roberts, he's using Nancy Pelosi's words against her. And Roberts is not a staunch conservative by any means. This is a conservative court, and it's supposed to be a 6-3 conservative court, but Roberts will go to the left a lot of times. Not always. Most of the time, he might be with us. He wasn't with us when we overturned Roe v. Wade and Dobbs' decision. But this is a good leaning conservative bent court, a originalist court. And what an originalist is supposed to do is, what does the text originally say, and what do people believe that the text originally said in the Constitution? And that's what conservatives believe is a good justice. Conservatives have always said, and I believe this too, the Supreme Court should not be a legislature. A Supreme Court should look at cases and rule on them using the law and using the Constitution to see if something is constitutional or not. And it's pretty clear that Biden didn't have the power to do this. And if you're going to do student debt cancellations or forgiveness, it has to be an act of Congress. Sign the bill, both chambers, and then the president can sign it. He can't just go off on executive order or however he did it. And regardless of your opinion, that's just how things work. That's just what the Supreme Court said. That's how the cookie crumbles. And it's just very important. And listen, if we're just going to talk about the political aspects of it, I know that it's expensive to go to college. I do. But if you allow the United States government to forgive student debt forgiveness, and it's really picking losers and winners. And I'll give you an example. I went to college for a little bit and then I quit. I shouldn't have. I should have stayed, got my degree, but I'm here. I didn't take out a ton of student debt loans. Why should I be expected to pay off a loan for someone that went and got his degree? He's going to make more money than me most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. He's going to have more opportunities most of the time. But you might say, you're not. But my tax dollars go to student debt forgiveness, okay? So you're asking Americans, a lot of Americans without degrees, to pay off degrees for people, to pay off the degrees of people that have degrees. It's unfair. You're telling a mechanic has a little school, okay? You're telling a mechanic that he has to pay off a lawyer's degree, or a doctor's degree. Okay? Or you're telling, or a nurse or a teacher. That's not fair. That's not right. You're going to pay off my car payment? Are you going to pay off my house payment if I have one? Or look at it like this. Let's say you busted your butt, went to college, got the degree, and you paid off your loan. Well, you're the biggest idiot in the world then, because the government's going to forgive that. Now, do I think in certain times, like the coronavirus, that maybe we should suspend payments or make them lighter? Yeah, I'm fine with that. Or if something happens, a tragedy or something, I understand that. But just to forgive all of these loans, the way I can't say this is exactly how you fix college, okay? But I would heavily, if I was a governor or a president or a principal at a high school, I would heavily stress going to community college for 2 years, cutting your debt, and then going and getting your last 2 years if it's a 4-year degree. Okay? And I think that is the best thing. But it's unfair. I understand Biden wants to get more attention and more love from young voters. I understand that. Is the principle fair? And I know people will say, well, we spend all this money overseas and this and this and this. That's a separate issue. And I'm glad we can take it up. I'm fine with cutting some foreign aid for some very bad countries. But that's not what we're talking about. Okay? We're talking about student debt forgiveness. Even if you support it, the way Biden went about forgiving it was not constitutional. Now we're going to pivot to another case involving education regarding affirmative action. Affirmative action was set in place by colleges to allow minorities, especially African American minorities, to have a better chance at getting into college. But what it did is it lowered the bar for African American students and higher the bar for white students and Asian students. So an African American student could score less and get into the college and get accepted, while the white American or the Asian American had to score higher. Instead of it being a truly colorblind neutral field, we're saying we're going to judge a little bit on race. I think that that's a violation of racism there. We're saying to correct past racism, we're going to now cause more racism on the reversed end. So the Supreme Court reversed that. The left went crazy, calling us racist, as they always do. But I thought it was really interesting over at the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur is a very big name. He's a very big socialist, has a very big podcast called The Young Turks. I'm not a fan of their ideology at all, but he said something that was really, really interesting. And I want to play that for you, because for once I kind of agree with him. And a broken clock's right at least twice a day. Is that the old saying? But I agree with him on this. And if Cenk says that affirmative action was bad, and for the reasons he lays out, it probably was bad. So even if he can get it right, hopefully America can get this right. And listen, you can disagree with people the majority of the time and say you're right on this, even if they're making a more right point. And sometimes I might have a more left-leaning tendency, and Cenk might say you're wrong about 95% of issues, but you're right here. So it's good to come together when we can. But a lot of people are really upset about this. But I want to play Cenk Uygur, and if I mispronounce his name, I apologize. It's Turkish. It's very hard to pronounce. The former congressional candidate in California. Let's listen to his words about affirmative action. Here's a clip from the Young Turks.
Of the Supreme Court lack sufficiently focused and measurable objectives warranting the use of race unavoidably employ race in a negative manner, involve racial stereotyping, and lack meaningful endpoints. We have never permitted admissions programs to work in that way, and we will not do so today. Now, race can still be considered, although in a far more limited way in the admissions process, and I'll explain how that works in just a moment. Before I do, Cenk, what do you think about this ruling?
Okay. Race for impact, I agree with it. So I've actually said that I'm against affirmative action probably dozens of times on this show, but nonetheless, people are surprised whenever you go outside of orthodoxy. So I think affirmative action was definitely correct in the beginning. I'll give you a quick example of why. So, for example, if you're just pick a random profession, you're a longshoreman, you got a good job, it pays decent wages back then, right? It started in the 1960s, and you want to pass your job on to your kids. That makes sense. I get it. I get your motivation behind it. But at the time, only white people had those jobs. So they would constantly pass their jobs on to other white people, their kids, which, again, as a parent, I get it. But we had to allow minorities to break into that system. And we had to do that at every level for jobs, universities, etc., because folks did not have an opportunity, okay? But after a while, it becomes stigmatizing. So I'll give you another anecdote. When I was in law school, I remember back then I was a Republican, and I remember being with a couple other Republican students, and I said about one of our classmates and someone who I was friends with, but they didn't know that. They said, "Oh yeah, I wonder how he got in here." And I thought, and I said, by being a great student. But for them, every minority, it doesn't matter if they went to Harvard, Princeton, where, Yale, Stanford, nothing mattered. It was disqualified because of their race. Oh, they didn't earn it. And I think that has had a massively corrosive effect in this country against minorities. So I think it has now become counterproductive. I agree with the Supreme Court's decision. I have more on that, but that's my initial.
He's right. The reason he's right is it's easy for a student to say there's a African American student in a classroom wherever you're at. Well, how did he get in? Did he have as good a score as me? And listen, this doesn't mean that African American students can't go to college anymore. They still can. What it means is they might not get the school they want to at first if they don't score what everyone else has to. But you can go to community college and go to that school eventually, which is a good thing. And same thing for the white guy. I remember when I was in my liberal history teacher in my junior year, which was a fun class. We had plenty of arguments. He brought up affirmative action, and the way he phrased it was those who are for diversity and those who are against diversity, which is not true. Okay, I'm for intellectual diversity, and I'm actually for some racial diversity, but I'm not for being forced. Okay, I'm for it happening naturally, and in America, it will happen naturally. We're a very diverse country. And he said, if you get rid of diversity, you get rid of affirmative action, then you know what? We're just going to have, he said, the majority of college students were going to be all Asians. And people laughed and everything. And I'm just thinking back there, it's like, so what? They earned it. Let them go. If they worked hard to get a good test score and a good GPA, let them go. Who cares? I don't care what skin color you are. With that being said, we still got a couple more Supreme Court decisions. A web designer and a free speech case. And I want to read you a piece of an article from NPR News. Designer in Supreme Court ruling cited client who denies making wedding site requests. Denver, a Colorado web designer who the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Friday could refuse to make wedding websites for gay couples, cited a request from a man who says he never asked to work for her. The respected in dispute from a person identifying as Stewart was the basis for the federal lawsuit. Preemptively 7 years ago by web designer Lauren Smith before she started making wedding websites. But as the case advanced, it referred by her attorneys when lawyers for the state of Colorado pressed Smith on whether she had significant grounds to sue. The revelation distracted from Smith's victory at a time when she might have been backing in her win, which is widely considered a setback for gay rights. Smith named Stewart and inclined a website service request from him, listing his phone number and email address in 2017 court documents. But Stewart told the Associated Press he never submitted the request and didn't know his name was invoked in the lawsuit until he was contacted this week by a reporter from the New Republic, which first reported his denial. I was incredibly surprised, but given the fact I've been happily married to a woman for the last 15 years, said Stewart, who declined to give his last name for fear of harassment and threats. His contact information, but not his last name, were listed in the court documents. He added that he was a designer and could design my own website if I needed to, and was concerned no one had checked into the validity of the quest for Smith. Smith's lawyer, Wagner, said at Friday's news conference that the wedding request naming Stewart was submitted through Smith's website and denied it was fabrication. She suggested it could have been a troll making the request to something that happened with other clients she represented in 2018. Her client, Colorado baker Jack Phillips, won a partial U.S. Supreme Court victory after refusing to make a gay couple's wedding cake, citing his Christian faith. It is undisputed that the request was received, Wagner said. Whether it was a troll or not a genuine request, or it was something who was looking at that is irrelevant. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weisler said Friday the lawsuit's a made-up case because Smith wasn't offering web services when it happened. Regardless if it was a troll or not, or if it was real or not, this is a win for religious liberties. Just like the Colorado Bacon case, you should not be forced to design a gay wedding cake, to design a gay website for a wedding. This is a free speech issue, and you might claim that this violates discrimination laws. And if it does, let me ask you this question. If there was a black bakery owner, an African American bakery owner, and a Ku Klux Klan wanted them to make them a cake with their symbolism on it, should that owner be able to deny them service under free speech, under the art that is their cake? Okay. The obvious answer is yes, they should be able to deny that service. In the same way, Christians should not be forced to celebrate something that they consider to be sinful. And that's a good thing. Moving on, I want to read you an awesome article from about the Texas pro-life bill that has recently saved life. I'm going to be reading you a little bit of an article from lifenews.com, which is obviously a pro-life news source, and it's very biased, but you can also read the study that they linked in the bio. And if you go to www.lifenews.com, you can go there and read the study that they found. New study shows Texas heartbeat law saves 10,000 babies from abortion. Nearly 10,000 babies have been born in Texas as a result of its heartbeat law, A new study by Johns Hopkins researchers suggests the results of the study, published Thursday in a medical journal, added to growing evidence that pro-life laws are saving tens of thousands of lives. Researchers said Texas saw 9,799 more births between April and December in 2022 after the law went into effect. Although our study doesn't detail why these extra births occurred, our findings strongly suggest that a considerable number of pregnant individuals in Texas were unable to overcome barriers to access abortion, said Alice Gettleman, PhD, Associate Professor in the Bloomberg School Department of Population, Family, and Reproductive Health, and leading author of the study. In September 2021, Texas became the first state since 1973 that the courts allowed to enforce a pre-viability abortion ban. So for about 10 months prior to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the state enforced its heartbeat law, which bans elective abortions. Once an unborn baby's heartbeat is detected about 6 weeks into the pregnancy. During that time, the study from Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health suggests that 9,799 unborn babies were saved from abortion in 2022. Researchers said that they used monthly live birth data from all 50 states to come up with the number. According to Johns Hopkins, the researcher calculates that there would have been over 200,000 live births in Texas from April to December 2022 had abortions not been banned and gone into September 2021. The number of observed births during this period of time was 297,000, a difference of 9,799. In other words, the research suggests the Texas law saved about 1,225 babies from abortion every month. 6 months have passed since December, meaning approximate 7,350 more babies likely also have been spared from violent abortion. These are unique, variable children who have the opportunity to grow and thrive, experience joy, develop relationship, and contribute to society. However, researchers at Johns Hopkins portray their findings in a negative light, referring to pregnant women as birthing persons and calling pro-life laws harmful. Abortion bans have real implications for birthing people. Thousands of them may have no choice but to continue an unwanted or unsafe pregnancy to term, said Susan Bell, PhD, an assistant professor at Bloomberg and other lead studies. Bell said most women seeking abortions are struggling financially, so many of the mothers who gave birth in 2022 likely are struggling. But killing unborn babies in abortions is not a solution to poverty. Most pregnant mothers want to better support not abortions, but pro-life advocacies, having been worked hard to increase resources to help families, including those government aids, taxes, pregnancies, and maternal leave. Last year, when the Washington Post highlighted the struggle of a young Texas mother and her baby after the heartbeat law prevented her from having an abortion, pro-life actress Patricia Heat and other pro-life leaders highlighted a fundraiser for the family, raising $50,000 in 24 hours. In Texas, unborn babies are protected from abortion at all stages of pregnancy after the Supreme Court's overturn of Roe in June 2022. The state began enforcing a second pro-life law that bans all elective abortions. Now, 14 other states also are enforcing laws that ban or strictly limit elective abortions, and more are fighting in the courts to do so. While some women are traveling to other states for abortions, and others are buying abortion drugs online. A number of studies indicate that pro-life laws are preventing abortions from saving lives. One report from the Society of Family Planning found that abortion dropped by about 24,000 nationwide, July 2022 to March 2023. Michael J. New, a assistant professor at the Burt School of Business at the Catholic University of America and association at the Charlotte Institute, said that the Texas birth data is very powerful evidence that state abortion bans are saving lives. He conducts research earlier this year that came very similar findings in Johns Hopkins studies. In my Charlotte Institute analysis from November 2022 of Texas birth data, I found that the Heartbeat Act was prevented about 1,000 abortions from taking place every month, wrote in a new article in a custom column published at Life News. Also, new data from the CDC shows that 2022 the Texas birth rate increased by 4.7%, the largest percentage increase in the country. And thank you for bearing with me with how long it took me to read that article, but it said about over 1,000 babies a month in Texas from this Johns Hopkins study is being saved. Now, you can go to Lifesite News and read that article, and they will link you to the study if you don't like, Lifesite News. Life News. LifeNews.com. And let's just take a minute and think about this. Abortion advocates will always say, if you outlaw abortion in Texas or any other state, women can just get on a plane and go get another abortion somewhere else. Sometimes they say that. That's true. You can't stop them from doing that. But a lot of them don't have the means to do it. Now, they'll also use that as a justification for killing the baby. Well, if you can't do this, then you should kill your baby. If you can't even get a ticket to go to California to kill your baby, you should be able to kill your baby in Texas. No. Let's apply for some help. Let's ask charities for help. Let's ask the government for help if we have to. Okay? I'm not opposed to the government helping people that need help. I don't want leeches sucking off of taxpayers and mooching off the country, but I'm fine with a single mom getting help if she needs it. Or even a mom that's not single. Or a dad that's single. Or a dad that's not single, okay? But 10,000 babies, almost 10,000 babies have been estimated to be saved from abortion. There's no exact number because there can't be. But they took the increase of births because women couldn't get abortions. This is a win, okay? Now you might say, I want the law to go further and ban all abortions outside of life of the mother. Okay, listen, I support that. I don't think you should have any abortions outside of life of the mother or if the baby has passed away inside the womb. Outside of that, I don't think there should be any abortions. But a lot of these southern states, they might not be going that far, but they're going pretty far. And anything is better than abortion up to 9 months, like we have in Virginia, where you can get an abortion the day before your due date. That might not be common, but it does happen. And it's legal, and it's wrong. Think about it. Think about anybody that's had a baby. And I've had a sister that's had a baby, and I've seen my stepmom be pregnant with both my baby sisters. So I might not have had a child, but I've seen loved ones grow inside the womb. I've seen their pictures. And to tell me, when I'm holding my baby niece in my arms, that just 5 hours ago, before she was born, that she could have been aborted. Now, my sister would have never done that. But to tell me in that situation that can happen, the only thing that makes them human is being exited from the mother, being out of the mother's body. So you're telling me one day before that baby is born, someone can go and get an abortion? And At that point, the baby has its fully functioning eyes, its head, its legs, its feet, its arms, its fingers, and you're going to tear them to shreds in a brutal execution? That's awful. I hate all abortions. I hate them all. But we can't say, if we can't ban all of them, we'll ban none of them. Okay, any bill that bans abortions and saves any lives is a win. And we have to take small steps to that victory. There's a saying, how do you eat an elephant? How do you eat an elephant? Do you put in the elephant all at once? No, you can't do that. It's way too big. You can't. You eat it one bite at a time. Okay? The same way goes with passing laws. Do we get everything we want all the time? No. Sometimes we have to do strides. In some states, we're going to be able to ban it almost completely. In other states, we're only going to get a 15-week ban. And then some states, a 20-week ban. Or we'll just ban it at the third trimester. Take what you can get. And if you can get nothing at all, pray, vote, pray, and vote. And educate the people about the horrors of abortion. It's killing our children. It's killing our children, and God will hold us accountable for it. And you might say, I'm a Christian, I vote pro-life. How can I do anything else? Well, you can give to a pro-life women's clinic, $5 a month. Okay? I'm going to just say this. I hope they don't mind. The Pregnancy Resource Center, the Pregnancy Clinic, New River Valley, is now going to have a clinic set up in Whitfield coming next year. And I'm so excited about that. They already have one in Blacksburg and Radford. And these young girls are going a lot of times looking for abortions, thinking they can't take care of their babies. And these really good women, and they're mostly women, there might be a few men, help them realize that they can be good moms. They can take care of their babies, and that they will help them. Okay? They might not be able to give them everything, but they can help them with diapers. Okay? They can help them with family planning, teaching them how to be a good family. And they help a lot of the fathers too, because a lot of the fathers get involved. Now, a lot of the fathers might run away, but a lot of fathers stay around too. So that's a good thing, okay, that we're going to get a pro-life women's clinic in Whitfield, Virginia, coming soon. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, but that is the rumor that I've been told and that I've read, and that is amazing. And I'm praying for it, and praying for the clinic in Whitfield, and the clinic in Blacksburg, and the clinic in Radford. You can get involved that way. You can educate people. You can vote. You can pray. And you can't just say, well, I vote and I go to church. Get involved. Trying to save them babies. They matter. Okay? And I want to leave you, well, we got to keep going. I was going to say, I'm going to leave you with the next article I'm going to read, with the next couple things, but I got a couple things, so we're going to keep going. Virginia has passed a new law that I was not aware of until I got on Reddit and saw people complaining about this law. What is this law that everyone hates so bad on the Virginia Reddit forum? It is a pornography law that requires identification to watch pornography. So now, in Virginia, if you want to watch internet pornography, you're supposed to go, now if you're in Virginia, you want to watch internet pornography, the website is supposed to require a photo ID, proving that you're 18 years old. Now, some people are mad at this, saying that it's breach of privacy. I don't want them knowing my data. I don't want a porn site knowing my data. First of all, everyone's got your data. If you got a smartphone, everybody knows who you are. Okay, the government knows who you are. Corporations know who you are. Let's get over that. And I'm not saying that violation of privacy is good, but with that being said, it's just an excuse that these people are making, that they want to be able to access internet pornography without being inconvenienced. But what that inconvenience for them does is it can save children under 18 from being curious and looking at things. And it's scary to have cell phones for children because they can see anything and everything. It's a technology that has hardly ever been had by everyone at once, or anyone. And children have the world at their fingertips just like we all do. We have such an information source with cell phones. If you have a cell phone, you have a power to talk. You have the power to speak. You have the power to make things move. Cell phones are powerful. You got power to get a message out. I'm not putting this up with my cell phone. I'm using a laptop. With that being said, it doesn't matter. Most of my listeners listen on a cell phone. A couple listen on computers or a radio device through the internet, but it's all internet based, and most are listening through a cell phone. But I'm going to read you an article from the Virginia Mercury. Ahead of a new age verification law, Pornhub blocks access in Virginia. Virginians will no longer be able to access Pornhub, one of the internet's most popular pornography websites, after the company disabled access to the site in the Commonwealth in response to a new law going into effect this Saturday. The law requires pornography websites to use age verification technology to more strictly determine whether a person is 18 or older to gain access to the site. The legislation passed the General Assembly on a nearly unanimous vote. This March, Senator Bill Stanley, Republican of Franklin, the patron of the bill, told the Mercury this March his legislation aims to address the epidemic of childhood exposure to pornography. Under the law, websites must verify users' age and identity, but can select the specific mode of verification, such as uploading a copy of a government-issued identification or other unspecific commercial technology. However, Pornhub is in a message posted to its site Thursday, is arguing the law is not the most efficient solution for protecting people visiting its site and plus children and user privacy at risk. Until a real solution is offered, we have made the difficult decision to completely disable access to our website in Virginia, wrote Pornhub. Oh, that's what I think. Oh, Pornhub got their feelings hurt that they have to have kids verify if they're 18 or not. Oh, it's so sad for them. An awful company that mistreats women like they're dogs and has been rumored to use children and haven't deleted those videos. Rumored, okay, but still treats women like dogs. So sad for them. Okay, I'm going to continue with the article. Virginia now joins Utah, which has a similar age verification law as states where Pornhub has blocked residents' access to connect due to legislation. In Virginia, the law applies to any website where 33.3% or more of the content is mature, harmful to minors, such as websites exclusively containing pornography. Social media sites like Twitter and Reddit allow adult content on their platform, but not predominantly made up of adult content, would not be subjugated to the law. In Virginia, the law will allow people to sue pornographic websites that don't use proper age verification methods for damaging results from a minor access to such material. That's good. Websites that aren't requiring age verification If a parent finds out that their kid's on it, a parent can sue them. That's good. Porn websites, you better be updating your website or take it down like Pornhub. I'd rather you take it down. I'd rather you not be in my state because you corrupt young men, because you corrupt hearts, and you're awful to people. I'm not saying that people don't struggle with it or good people don't struggle with it, but we don't want our children watching it, okay? And that's a good thing. However, Beth Wilder, attorney and the chair of the Cybernetic and Data Privacy Practice at Woodridge Black law firm, said technology limitations could make it difficult for pornography websites to follow the requirements. She is also questions Virginia's ability to enforce the law in the first place. Walker said Louisiana, which has a similar law, allows adult contact websites to access the state's serial driver's license online database to verify age and identity. Virginia, she said, doesn't have a similar system. That means websites will have to use third-party verification methods for other companies that don't have access to serial state databases. She said, raising a question about how identification will be prosecuted and verified. It's not like walking into a bar where somebody can take an ID and use an ID and to see if it's valid. Walker said Virginia Attorney General Jason Ramirez said office did not respond to multiple requests from the Mercury for information about how officials plan to enforce the law. Free Speech Coalition Director Alex Bolden said the law in Louisiana and Utah haven't been enforced despite going into effect months ago. Because the laws are so poorly written, it's impossible to know whether a site can be held liable for violation of the law when it's made a good faith effort to comply, she said. Website owners certainly worry that even though they're following the law as it's understood, they could still end up being sued because young people understand technology like VPNs much better than politicians do. VPNs are virtual private networks are encrypted methods that allow easy access to web designers regardless of what state they live in. Uploading personal information through non-state verification methods also run the risk of this information being exposed in a cyber security breach, said Walker. The intentions behind the law is good, Walker said. However, she added, I don't think that anyone wants to bypass a law like that. They are properly motivated and tech savvy and will find a way. Well, that's true. There's a lot of people that will still watch pornography that are under 18. But should we give up hope? Should we stop trying? Young men that are worse at this, that are under 18, we need to keep them from that. And you can say, well, parents should just watch their kids' phones. The only way I think you could properly do that is give their kid a flip phone or a non-smartphone. And then you're going to call us a religious nut for doing that. You can call us a religious nut for doing anything. This is a good law. It's going to stop a lot of people from watching pornography. And just to say, well, you could use a VPN. Yeah, that's true. Not everyone knows that. A lot of people do, but not everyone. It will stop people. They'll see that if they have to put their driver's license, people are going to say, that'll kill that temptation. By the time you got to go get your wallet, get your driver's license, get a photo ID, it can kill that temptation. And it's going to help people. This is a good government law, and it's going to help people spiritually. It's going to help people under 18. And I'm glad that Virginia has joined Utah in a law like this. And I don't know about the Louisiana law and how it's implemented. And listen, just because a law says you can't kill someone doesn't mean people don't kill people. But that doesn't mean you get rid of the law, okay? This is a good law. Moving on, I want to end off on Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. I'm going to read you an article are a portion of an article from Fox News. Hunter Biden's daughter with ex-stripper will receive some of his paintings, but not his last name. In statement. Hunter Biden in settlement. Hunter Biden has settled his child support case in Arkansas and reached an agreement with the mother of one of his children, who will receive an undisclosed number of paintings from Biden. Announced in a court filing on Thursday, the settlement between Biden and Lorden, Alex Roberts, ended a year-long parental dispute over the pair's 4-year-old daughter, who the first son refuses to engage with, and whom both President Biden and First Lady refuse to acknowledge as their 7th grandchild. A former stripper at a gentleman's club in Washington, D.C., Roberts had a brief affair with Hunter Biden about 5 years ago that resulted in a pregnancy. Not long after he ended a torrid affair with Haley Biden, the widow of his brother. The girl was born in August in 2018. A parental suit was filed in May 2019. The same month, Hunter Biden married his second wife, Melissa Conan, with whom he now shares a young son named after Barron, his late brother, who died in 2015 from brain cancer. As a part of the agreement, court records revealed that Hunter Biden will give his estranged daughter some of his paintings, which she can sell or keep for herself. The artwork, which Hunter took up as a recovery from alcohol and drug addiction, shall vary in size, with a minimal size of 24 by 24, the record stated. The child shall select the painting, which she either be sent to the child or sent to a gallery designed by Lorden Roberts. The court document reads, the net proceeds of any sales of the painting shall be wired to an account designated to Lorden Roberts. It is unclear how much Hunter Biden will pay Roberts, as informed by redacted in the court document, but the payment will begin place monthly beginning July 1st, 2023, and the same due on the first day of every month, therefore until the child reaches the age of 18, marries, or passes away. The document also noted that Biden and Roberts, within the next 5 years, shall discuss providing a college education fund for the child. Additionally, the records revealed that Roberts had withdrawn her counterclaim to change the child's name, the last name, to Biden. Let me read that again. Additionally, the record revealed that Roberts had withdrawn the counterclaim to change the last name of Biden. In a January 2020 order, independent court circuit judge Holly Menares declared, following a DNA test, with near certainty that Hunter Biden is the biological father of the girl referred to in the documents as Baby Doe. Roberts and Hunter Biden reached an agreement in 2020 over the child's parental and child support, but the case was reopened when the president's son required adjustments to the payments in December. Roberts requested that his daughter's last name be changed to Biden, with her attorney writing in the motion. The Biden name is now synonymous with being well-educated, successful, financially secure, and politically powerful. Biden's team demanded an explanation into why a name change would be in the child's best interest. According to page 6, Roberts graduated from Arkansas State University in 2014 and enrolled in George Washington University, where she attended classes during the summer and fall semesters of 2015 in pursuit of a certificate program in foreign and finance incentives, but never graduated. At Empire, she reported dancing under the stage name Dallas. Around the time Roberts became pregnant with his child, Hunter Biden, was reportedly making at least $83,000 a month while sitting on the board of Burisma, holding one of Ukraine's largest natural gas companies. And that is the end of the article, and that is with Fox News. Hunter Biden's daughter with ex-stripper will receive some of his paintings, but not his last name instead. That's really disgusting on the Biden family, and we're come to accustom to that, and I apologize. I know I mispronounced words and I stumbled, but Hunter has to give his daughter some paintings which she can sell for money, and I'm sure he has to give her child support. It's obvious, it's 100% fact that Hunter Biden, the son of the President of the United States, has a daughter with a ex-stripper and does not want that daughter to have his last name. Why did the Bidens not want the daughter to have his last name? I think it's obvious. They don't want any connection with that child. Joe Biden, the media makes him out to be, what a great man, what a good guy, and all of this. He's not a good man. No good man would not claim his grandchild. No good man would encourage his son, which I think is going on. Okay, maybe it's not. But no good man would say, yeah, keep the Biden name away from your child. Even though she could probably prosper from that name, even though that she could use that name to get more into politics because Bidens are successful, even though she can use that name to help herself, just like Biden, like Hunter Biden did. The reason that Hunter Biden was on that company in Ukraine is because his daddy's last name was the vice president. That's why he was making so much money a month. Okay, it's kind of borderline criminal, and I'm just tired of it. It's sick to me that you could look at this situation, not care about your grandchild, and not claim her, and say you only have 6 grandchildren when you have 7. That's kind of disgusting to me. But the Bidens are kind of disgusting people in that way. And even if Joe Biden wasn't behind her not using the name Biden, he could have said, son, this is wrong. I'm the President of the United States. What you did is wrong. That is my granddaughter. Now you might say, well, that's not politically good or anything. But that is what a grandfather does. That's what a loving grandfather does. But he's not being a loving grandfather to his grandchild, and that kid in Arkansas. He's not. He's being a jerk. And Biden does not care about his granddaughter. It's sad. And Hunter's awful too. I mean, Hunter gets by with the Biden last name. And people complained about the Trumps all the time. And I'm not, as you've listened, I'm not Donald Trump's #1 apologist. But if this was Donald Trump, this would be all over the news. It wouldn't just be on Fox News. It'd be everywhere. It wouldn't just be on CNN. It'd be everywhere. Okay? This is despicable. It's disgusting. She deserves better. Let's pray for her. And let's pray for the Bidens. But America deserves better too. And hopefully in 2024, we will correct it. Also, a fun little tidbit. We're going to go back to the porn law. I forgot to read you this. Senator Louise Lucas, who just survived her primary, said in a tweet, "Is anyone else's Pornhub not working? ? And then she commented, I told you I'm not your typical grandma. Is it funny? Yes, it's funny. Is it gross? Yeah, it's gross. She's older. I wouldn't want to think about my grandma looking at Pornhub. That's all I'm saying. Even though she's a legislator. Is anyone else's Pornhub working? Not working? I told you I'm not your typical grandma." So, just the senator pro temp of Virginia, tweeting about her Pornhub not working. Now, does she really watch Pornhub? I don't know. She's just probably making a joke. But it's kind of gross. Well, anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you to my lovely wife for reading George Washington's prayer and being my tech support and my emotional support. I love you so much, Rachel Scott. You're my sweetheart. If anyone would like to help the podcast, get some merch, a hat, a bumper sticker, tell me, and I'll try to get it to you. If you want to financially contribute to the podcast, which I'll use for the podcast, it'll be www.overopinionated679.com. The O and over is capitalized. That's Patreon. It's www.patreon/overopinionated. It 679. The O is capitalized. But I just rather you use your word of mouth. Pray for the podcast. Share it. I want to use this podcast to first spread the gospel of Jesus. To second, spread the message of conservatism. And have a good time too. Hopefully we get some more guests on. And thank you so much for listening. I hope y'all have a great week. I'm going to try my best to start posting more. And hopefully we can set up a weekly schedule so I'm posting more on a certain date. And I would like to get some more shows out. And I'm so thankful to my audience. God bless you. I love you so much. And I will see you in the next episode.